Hi, beloved and blessed jewelry community. Welcome to this second tutorial for jewelry design with Blender 290. Well, 280 and sequence versions of Blender. Today, this video is for the beginners because we are going to begin with the beginning. And I'm going to talk about very basic things. I might talk a lot, but that's to set some things clear and straight for the entire series, and so you can follow the entire series from scratch and learn. Many things we're going to do are very specific problems we face as jewelers. This channel is all about, well, no, mostly about jewelry design, also with another software and other things. My main job is jewelry making. I am a jeweler for more than 20 years now. I've made thousands and thousands of jewels and designed them. I do own my own jewelry brand here in Mexico. I and my main activity jewelry teaching by now. Uh, I've been teaching for more than 16 years straight. So I already had more than 1,000 students over the years from all over the world. Uh, and I keep teaching. Obviously, I do teach online. The thing is that online, well, I don't have much time. And for many people, I can't just charge what they would expect. I do work with professional jewelers, so it is expensive by now to study with me. Uh, well, because that's I live from that, and I don't have many other activities to make money, and it's how it goes. But Blender is free, and my Blender tutorials are totally free. I don't have a Patreon yet. I might open one someday. I don't have time to do it. I prefer just to freely make the tutorials on my whenever time. And okay, so that's a bit about me. And okay, that's enough for now. Okay, Blender. So here we are. So moving the view. So first, you're gonna need a very normal mouse, two buttons, one middle wheel. That's normal for 3D null. The middle wheel makes the zoom, the rotation. Okay, you're also gonna need a numpad. Some people that want to look modern don't use the numpad anymore. They think it's ugly, but the numpad is very useful in the 3D modeling process because when you hit 7, that's the top view, 1 is the front view, and 3 is the side view. 5 is perspective view and orthographic view, which is the technically plane view. You can rotate the view with the other numbers by increments. I don't use that function that much. Okay, so normally you would have the famous default cube here in Blender, which is very lovely. If you have the cube right there, you have always the camera, the light, and the cube. You can hit the delete key to remove the cube. You can hit delete to remove the light. I am using the right select button. I'm going to talk about that a bit more. Okay, when you have that, you can remove everything, and if you want that, just go to defaults and save startup file. So it's going to be empty when you open Blender. If you want the cube and all that, just leave it like that. You can add or remove anything you want and save the started file. You're always going to start with what you saved. Okay, now, technical preferences. We are going to use cycles as a renderer for many things. We generally won't use Eevee, which is the default renderer in Blender now, which is very fast and very good, but we jewelers, we need a lot of reflections and refractions for the gemstones, and Cycles does that good. Then we'll use LuxScore for more advanced still images because LuxScore does caustics and dispersion much better than Cycles, which doesn't do any caustics. If you don't know what a caustic is a very specific kind of light reflection that you generally get from a swimming pool, the water, all the light that beams out, or from the rim wheel, or from jewels, because metallic reflections reflect light in a very specific mathematical way and makes very pretty shining geometry on the surroundings. And Cycles doesn't do that uh, yet. Maybe one day will. But LuxScore does that very well. Um, but that's something more advanced. All right. So technical preferences also in the first tab. We have the interface. Here you can change the scale of the system. I generally have it higher because I use big screens, so I need to see the letters bigger. Then the key map. Here we have the famous left or right selection. Many people used to worry about the right button selection. Actually, I find it great because it's very specific to Blender, and well, just know we're going to select with the right button. I use the right button. I still use it, and I'm going to keep it like that in all my tutorials. So it's the right button selection and the system. Okay, here we're going to use the CUDA, which is for NVIDIA cards. If you have an NVIDIA card, don't use the processor. It's going to bottleneck your system and make it slower with almost every processor. Obviously, if you have, my processor is good. It's a bit old. I might change the processor this year. Luckily, I have one of the best NVIDIA cards by now. I have it for a couple of times. I do use a lot of computer to work, so I do need a good hardware. We're going to use CUDA. Optics is very good for the RTX cards because we get viewport denoising. It's very nice. It's very pretty. It's very fast. It's very efficient. The optics rendering is starting to be very, very nice, but there's a problem. If in jewelry, we are going to use a lot the beveling node as a node, so it works on the render because it softens the edges, and that specific node doesn't work with optics yet. I hope it's going to change soon. I hope, actually, I do participate quite a lot with Blender, so they might hear me someday. I'm not that famous in the community because, well, in this specific field of jewelry, yes, for the years I've been doing this and the quantity of videos I'm doing. So that's why I started doing it in English, also because the channel deserves to go way beyond the Spanish speaking community. So hello everybody. I already did the entire series in Spanish. There's more like than 30 videos. I don't know how many, but many, many, many. So anyway, that specific bevel node. So that's where we're going to stick to CUDA. I don't have the SLI. I don't have cards in SLI. Also, if NVIDIA is listening to me, maybe one day they are going to gift me a card. A while back, Gigabyte did uh, save my life, really gifting me a motherboard because for a very bad scam that happened in Mexico way back. Obviously, it's all gone now. It was later on was very fun because well, thanks to Gigabyte anyway. Um, they're very good hardware makers. Okay, so that we're gonna stick to CUDA. We're gonna stick to cycles. We're gonna stick to the right click selection. And okay, you can change the theme to any color you want. I don't change. Okay, some basic rules. I don't use add-ons. Well, one exception, Luke Score is well. I don't use add-ons. I won't. Well, basically for the first series, I won't use add-ons for nothing. Many people want me to use add-ons or buy some add-ons or promote some add-ons. I just don't, because the main purpose of my videos is to show that Blender is excellent for many things and is perfect for jewelry designing and jewelry making at very high levels. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do without add-ons. There's always a way to get. Okay, then efficiency. I work specifically for jewelry modeling and jewelry making. That means that we have very specific problems. I'm going to show a couple of these problems now. And I don't always use the fastest way possible. Fast isn't always good. We are jewelers. We are not watchmaker. And this is, well, why do I say that? Because I don't care about time that much. I care about doing things good or better. And that sometimes implies that we are going to use the time necessary to achieve that. Even sometimes we're going to be wrong, because by making things, we're going to see that we made them wrong. And then we're going to start all over again and take another way, another solution, and make it right again. So it means that making mistakes is fundamental for everybody to learn and to progress in life. Going fast, that's another problem for other people. We're making jewels in okay, making jewelry is very complex to describe because there's so many ways to make jewels, so many technologies, so many old school techniques, all by hand. And I've been trained by some of the best jewelers in Switzerland. My teacher worked in Geneva for very, very high brands, making crazy jewels in crazy materials with crazy gemstones. I've seen all you can and all you want in the jewelry industry, high jewelry field, and met people of these brands in Paris, in London, in Geneva, in Basel world, all around the world. Well, I still need to go. Some of my work as an apprentice went to Dubai. As an apprentice, I one had to make platinum earrings with sapphires, gold sapphires. That was 20 years ago. That's how I started. So working by hand for me is the most basic stuff. That's why I do. That's why I teach with the school. I've been teaching that for many, many years to many, many people. So in fact, 3D modeling, well, also I've been modeling for decades now, and I've printed and designed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of designs that I made, that I make. Um, so just to say that there's many ways, and also materials. I have done many contemporary jewelry with my students. For me, a lot of experimentation using a lot of materials, using any kind of materials We've used fiber carbon, we used glass, wood, enamels, ceramics, computer components, a lot of bubble gum, all you paper. Also, I've sold a lot of lines using just paper. Uh, yeah, because you can work paper to make very strong structures and paint them and varnish them and make very very pretty earrings. Or okay, so the point is 3D is just one part of what I do, uh, and our problems are very specific. So time, efficiency, that's all very relative. So sometimes I'm going to talk a lot, but because it affects the way we work and the way we learn and the way you are going to learn through my tutorials. That's why many people ask me to start tutorials in English because, well, I do have a very specific experience and a very specific way to teach and show uh, the forgotten details. Even in 3D, they do matter. So let's go. Now let's start modeling. One, front view. Okay, the 3D cursor, when you do the left click, moves the 3D cursor. With the N key, we can go down here in the view. The location of the cursor might be changed numerically right here to make it centered again. Front view, because when we make add, curve, watch out, curve, not mesh, curve, circle. Down here, we're going to put align with the view. We're going to put 9.1 for the size, and we're happy with that. So we have a circle right there, centered, because the 3D cursor is something very powerful in Blender. It's a bit tricky sometimes, especially at the beginning, but where the cursor is, what you are going to create is going to be there, where the cursor is. Now we're going to save the file here just for that. Okay, right. So that's just a circle. Now this is a Bezier circle. Bezier was a French mathematician who just made some very important mathematical expressions that, and one of those, the curve of Bezier, is that a curve can be expressed with 2 points and 2 vectors. So the points give position and the vectors gives the curvature of the curve, which is amazing. And he did that way before computers even existed, and that was a revolution, in fact, for graphic design and then now 3D design, because Bezier defined curves and shapes using just control points and vectors. That's way faster and way cleaner, and that's mathematical expression. So you should go check it out on the internet. That's a homework you're gonna have. Learn who Bezier is, because he changed the world basically as we know it, long before we even knew it. All right, so that's the Bezier circle. Okay, the size, 9.1 meters. Okay, we're going to learn that measurements are relative. That's something we all know. It means that we can say that 9.1 meters are equivalent to 9.1 millimeters. I'm talking about that because measurements in 3D and 3D printing and making is very important, because when you export your file in the STL file format for your printer, well, it's going to be in a certain scale. So if my circle would really have a radius of 9.1 meter, that would be huge. That would be a building, basically. So we're not architects and we're not going to print buildings. We're jewelry makers and we're going to print jewels. So from experience, I can just simply tell you and make it simpler and faster that by using 9.1 meters as radius, we're going to, okay, let's go to this tab here, to the item. The ending dimension is obviously 18.2 meters. Well, it's going to be perfect for exporting. And we can simply consider that these are 18.2 millimeters, or if you want, 1.82 centimeters. Okay? So the measurements, we don't need to change the basic unit. We can keep it as it is in meters. It's going to be fine. Everything's going to work out. We'll check that in other tutorials when exporting the file. We'll check that in other softwares, and you'll see that there's no problem. I've printed hundreds of jewels I've designed with Blender, and it just works. And that's what we want. We want something that works. Okay, size 18.2. You need to learn about ring sizes. So let's put ring size chart and check the images, and you can check the size. We are working with the American standard because in Mexico we use the American standard. There are many standards. There's the Asian standard, there's the French standard, the Swiss standard, the English standard, and many, many standards. Anyway, what you're expressing is the internal finger diameter. That's what you need to know, the size. So 18.2 millimeters is size 8. It's a bit big. In Mexico, woman is generally 6 to 7 and 4 to 5. So 8 is a bit big, but for the US, that's pretty normal for women. All right. Go back to Blender. Now, so we have this circle. Now, I'm going to add another curve, another circle here. This one, I'm just going to put 1 for radius. So this guy is going to be 2 millimeters big. Okay, now we're going to learn to create a shape. So I'm selecting the big circle. We're going to the Object Data tab. Okay, what do we need to know here? The resolution. If I change it to something smaller, we can see what the resolution is. So obviously that's, for now, we won't use a low resolution. We're going to use a higher. Let's use 80 because it's smoother, it's prettier. Okay, let's save that. Now, let's go to geometry. We're going to learn to bevel something. So I have the big circle. Here I can grab objects from the list or using the eyedropper. Let's click this guy. Woo! Step 1. Now we have a solid torus. It's the small circle walking around the big circle. So, well, that would be it. That's very simple. I have a very simple ring. But there are some issues, and we're going to learn a couple more today. So, this is the profile. Let's put it a name. You can name things in Blender. Just double click here. That's the ring size. Okay. I'm going to copy the original, so I'm just going to hit Shift D and Enter. So we just don't move the model, just right there overlaying the other one. That's why the copy here is showing here. But this guy, I'm going to remove the bevel here. So let's hit the cross here. So I just have the circle again. It's hidden because it's inside the other solid circle, but it's right there. I can move it. Let's hit here. I can slide the gizmo using the arrows. Let's move it here in front. So this is my original size 8 circle. But now we have a couple of problems because if I go to the front view, what happened? My profile is walking on the curve. So the thing is that half of the circle comes inside and the other half goes on the outside. It means that if this would be a ring, this ring is no size 8 anymore because it's going inside my size 8 and I have a problem. So, to make it funny, let's say my client really wants a size 8, 2 millimeters thick, round ring. So my work is not done yet because this ring is not size 8. It's already 2 millimeters thick, but it's not size 8 anymore. Okay. Now in 3D, as something very general, there are three operation. Three. I can't even count. You need, like I always say to my students, in jewelry, you don't have to be very good at math, but you need to be able to count on your fingers. Here we go. Three operation. Sizing, moving, and rotating. Moving, move, scale, and rotate. These are the three most basic operations in 3D. So to do that in Blender, there's just three keys. It's not tricky at all. Three keys. So S, it's for scaling. Hit escape if you want to go out of that. R is to rotate. Woo! Escape. And G is to grab, which is basically to move things. Okay, so let's go to the front view with the one key numpad and hit S. Now I'm going to make it size 8. It's size 8 again because the reference circle is correctly on the inside. So I scaled my torus, my circle. I made it bigger. So now the size is corrected. It's really a size 8. But now I have a problem because it became bigger. The section, the profile also became bigger. And that's sad because we want 2 millimeters thick, nothing less, nothing more. And it must be size 8. So we have a problem. We can see that now it's actually at 225 or so. Yeah, actually, yes, almost. But I need the dimension to be 2 millimeters at size 8. There are many solutions to that problem. It's quite simple to solve that, actually. There's many ways to solve that. Okay, this circle is the profile, is the thickness. So that circle was applied to the big circle. By making the big circle bigger, the section came along and became bigger. But I can scale the original circle and the resulting bevel will come along also because that circle is applied to the other circle. So by modifying the original circle, I am affecting the result. That's one way. So let's try. Let's make it a bit maybe smaller. Okay. Now we can see that I'm closing in to 2 millimeters. But the problem is that when I go back to the front view, it's also changing the size again because the section is becoming thinner. So I'm losing material on the inside and on the outside. So I can scale again and make it size 8 again. This is going to affect the thickness again. Okay, so you go back and forth and visually you can hit with a lot of precision because precision is very important. Now I'm at 199. That actually is not good enough. My videos and my channel starting to be respected around the world for a very simple reason that it's not easy to convince me. And that's why I'm a jeweler, because I do like in every aspect to check things and to check them good. So this is not 2 millimeters. We're one centesimal too small. That's wrong. We can't accept that, and we shouldn't. We shouldn't. Okay, so it means that this guy must be a bit bigger. Let's scale it a little more. Now, this is a bit too much. And this is a bit too much. So we can use numbers. Let's go at 181. So this one also at 181 to make the size, the scale correct. It's still too big. Let's go at 1/8. 1/8. Okay, we're at 2. Let's see how. Okay, this is good enough. The loose digits at the end, these are more than microscopic numbers. Very good. On my channel, we're going to work with millimeters, decimals, and centesimals. That means we're going to work at 100 part of the millimeter. Okay. Sometimes at the thousands. Sometimes, but generally at the centesimal, I'm going to be uh, uh, how you say that? Convinced? No, not convinced. I'm going to be. I'll recall later. It's going to be good at the centesimal. Okay, so now we got it. Look, look, we can make it more. There, you got size 8, 2 millimeters thick. Oh, this one. You know what? This one is almost. But you get my point. We gotta make that. So 180.05. Let's copy and paste this here. How much? I don't know, that's too big. Let's go at 80 100 802. Here, there you go. Okay, that's perfect again. Okay. So the point is that something that might look very simple is in fact might be a lot of trouble. This would be easier to make by hand. And actually this you should make by hand. Not every design is good for printing. Making a business all 3D printing is a bit isn't such a good idea. You first really should be a jeweler, then learn 3D, then buy a printer, and then start making interesting designs in 3D. Many people are doing it all wrong just by buying a printer, then learning 3D, then learning something about jewelry. Don't do that. It's the wrong way. You're going to lose. The jewelry world is very tough because it's a very old trade. It's a very old craftsmanship. The jewelry makers must go through a lot of suffering to learn the craftsmanship and to be that good by hand. 3D printing is just a new technology to make things a different way. There are many other technologies that are very good. CNC, wax carving, CNC wax carvers, laser cutters, um, press machines that just hit and cut the jewels that make very thin and very perfectly polished jewels very fast. Just you need to make 1,000 to make it worth it. There are many other technologies. Some are very old, some are very new. 3D printing is very new. It's just so fashionable. It's just so cool to 3D print. Everybody 3D printing. I've been printing for more than 12 years now. I've been designing in 3D for almost, no, I've been for 30 years. I model more. I love 3D rendering, but I'm jewelry maker for more than 20 years. I've been teaching jewelry for 16 years straight now. I created my own school in 2006. Prior to that, I was working I've been teaching in other schools here in Mexico City. I've taught to more than 1,000 students by now. I keep teaching, just that every time it's more professional and to a smaller group of people because what I teach is harder and more complex every time because that's what drives me. But anyway, something that simple has just a small, it's a simple trick, but the size is something you must take care of. And in jewelry, you must take care of the measurements, the measures, very specifically to jewelry making. Then you're going to have shrinking problems. Printing shrinks, mold making shrinks, casting the jewel shrinks, finishing the jewels removes material, polishing the jewel removes material. If you don't know how to polish a ring, then don't 3D design a jewel. Just don't do it. First, learn jewelry making, then learn jewelry, 3D jewelry designing. Many people don't like that uh, idea of mine because they say, "Yo, man, this is the best technology. You're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about." If I don't know what I'm talking about, then the world is very funny. Just saying. Okay, so anyway, and here we are with an entire series in English now for 3D jewelry design with Blender. And I know almost every people out there are following my videos because they want to learn how to design 3D jewelry like a professional, but they know nothing about jewelry. That's wrong. First, you need to know soldering, sewing, filling, um, jewelry finishing, stone setting, casting, mold making, all that. And that takes years to learn. But really do. And why this advice? Okay, that's the advice people don't like. But anyway, I'm going to keep. But like I said, I need to set things very clearly. What you want to win. The jewelry industry and the jewelry world is very competitive all around the world. It's a very old craftsmanship. It's a very closed world because it's a very hard world. So if you want to have a slight opportunity of success in this industry, you first need to face and win the hard way and dominate the jewelry making old school. Okay? Otherwise, your pretty printer and your pretty software, your pretty computer won't do you any good. Okay, that's just an advice. It might be just me. Okay, so let's move on with modeling to make some things, um, the design a bit more attractive. We're going to do a very basic ring. Okay, so now it's size 8 and all of that. And we learned that by changing the original profile, we are affecting the result. So now let's learn about edit mode. The edit mode is going to show us the control points. So I can also change the sizes and the design in edit mode, which would be the modeling mode. Okay, so we can move things. Let's take these two guys with the shift key. So we have the control points and the vectors, okay? Let's say S Okay, every S, R, and G function can be fixed to one axis. When you hit S and X, Y, or Z, you're going to fix that axis. So if I hit S and Y, it's going to scale only in the Y direction, like this. So this is affecting the result. Now I'm going to take this guy and just move it there. Now I'm going to take the outside point there. So if I go to the front view, I can see that, oh, I'm very far again from the correct size because I want my size 8. And the black circle, which is remaining there, is the size 8 reference. That's also why I'm teaching you to use a size reference, because otherwise you're going to forget about the correct size, and that would be bad. That would be wrong. All right, so that's not a problem. What I can do is take these guys with the shift key and move it. So let's go to the front view because I can move it directly looking at the size. And now we have this. And this is quite nice because we removed material from the inside. It makes the design a bit more attractive. And let's say, oh, this is almost the Lord of the Rings ring. Just, well, the letters apart. Obviously, we're not going to make the Lord of the rings. This is, don't ask me to do that ring. This is pathetic. Just saying. And also because it's a bad ring, it's not a good ring. So don't make it. I actually read the Silmarillion book, which is the book prior to the Lord of the Ring, which is one of the best Tolkien's and one of my favorite books in the entire world. The ring was made for very bad reasons. And actually, because one of the elven jewelers got tricked and they made fun of that guy in quite some an ugly manner. So obviously, you can be on the side of the elven jeweler who did the ring, who made the ring first in the first story. But it's a very bad ring. It's a vengeance ring, and it's obviously one of the most destructive ring in the entire history of humanity. By the way, so just don't ask me to design that ring. And the design is really, well, that's the design. So where it's done, just you go and you put the letters you want. Okay, so you see it by design in edit mode. We can move the vertices, the points, the control points, and affect the resulting sizes and design. This is pretty cool. So we're gonna leave it like this, and this is very basic curve modeling. Um, but we can already understand that using that we can make uh, many things. So don't forget to go out of edit mode. You can do it up there or simply hit the shortcut tab key. All right. Well, that's pretty good. That's a very simple ring. It's size 8. Yeah, it's size 8. Very good. The It's 445 or so. Yeah, 444, 5 wide. I can put it to, let's say, 4 numerically here. Obviously, that's compressing a bit. So what I can do, I can detail a bit more. I'm going to take that guy a bit thicker there. Now I'm going to take just the vectors here, and I'm going to hit SY. I'm going to make the edge a bit sharper here, like this. Maybe not even that much. All right. I could obviously subdivide and make. Well, actually, yes. Let's do that so you learn a bit more. With the shift key, well, let's take these guys. So um, select the point, which is the middle control point. Don't use the vectors. Let's hit the W menu and hit subdivide. So now we have these new vertices there. I can make them here, not too far away. And I'm going to change these vectors with S and Y to change the angle there. Okay, that's pressure. That's nicer. I'm going to take these vectors there, S, Y. Ah, by the way, I don't exactly know if they're called vectors in English. Uh, I'm generally technically very precise about the words I use, but I also like to simplify a lot of things because I know it's not relevant for what we're doing. So I'm going to call them vectors. Okay? Maybe somebody want and can correct me. When it's about things I know I am wrong or that I am simplifying, I am going to listen and correct it because that's what I do. I've been making so many tutorials over the years that that's how we progress, and that's also how I progress. I could go check it out before making my tutorial, but honestly, vector is generally kind of correct for what we're doing, even if it might not be in this case technically accurate. So this means I am a contradictory person. Oh, well, that's not a surprise. We all are teachers or students, human beings, men and women, or animals, or every living thing. We are contradictory by nature. It means that many times I'm going to say some things and then just do the opposite. All right? It's part of the fun. It's part of life. It's part of it's part of it all. So, because I just said like 10 minutes ago that I'm very technically precise and that my channel became respected because of that technicality and that precision because I'm a Swiss national and that's like our culture is very, but I'm also Mexican because I do have both nationalities, which is a very funny contradictory existential reality for me. Um, because I really grew up between the two countries, which is the funniest thing that could happen to someone because Switzerland and Mexico are, well, very opposites culturally and technically speaking. But that's my luck because Mexicans are very creative people, very warm people, very free people, free in the mind. And so free in making things because they make business like this. They create things. That didn't work. Let's make that. Let's do that. But obviously, they're not technically, well, not all the time, but generally speaking, culturally speaking, Mexico is not known for its technical precision. That's why Mexico. That's the charm of Mexico because Mexico is colors and party and music and beaches and yeah, party. It's fun. And Switzerland is not fun at all, but it's very technically very, 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 very precise. And I grew up in one and in the other. So that makes me obviously uh, something a bit out of the usual suspects because I just don't, well, people have a very hard time pinpointing who I am and what to expect from me because they never know that if I'm going to answer like a Mexican or I'm going to answer as a Swiss. So that makes sometimes very problematic, funky, tricky situations, and sometimes people just can't with that. Just ask. Yeah, that's why sometimes I do have very specific problems with my Mexican girlfriend because she just don't fucking understand what I'm saying or why I'm behaving the way I'm behaving because she's expecting me to know Mexican culture because I'm Mexican, of course. But lady, I grew up in Switzerland, and things are very different. And also, well, Swiss people just don't understand me because, well, I'm technically precise, but then I'm just crazy creative, and my answers are technically not accurate. But my answers are more creative. So they are going to discard me because they just think that my answer is not technically correct. Okay, so let's keep on modeling. I just want to do that a bit. Pressure SY. Okay, nice shape. Let's go out. So we have a very nice design. This is a very basic design uh, for a ring. That's was the first goal of today, using only curves and the bevel geometry function. And we're going to make a render. Yes. Okay. So this was for modeling. Okay, we just got circles, correct size. I show how to put it to scale. This is ready to export and print. This is very basic, but this can be exported and printed without any problem. I won't talk about exporting and 3D printing today. There's not so much to say about it, but okay. All right, let's just create a render. Okay, we're gonna add a mesh plane. We're gonna move it to the center. Then we're going to put it under the ring, somewhere like here. Floom, floom, floom. All right, let's make it big, 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 big. This is way big enough. All right. I'm going to hide the overlays like this. This is what we have. So now I don't have a camera nor a light. We can create a camera right here. So the camera is shown here. It's over there somewhere, but we just can't move the view. Let's say here. That's nice. Let's hit left, alt, control 0, and that fixes the camera view, which is very simple. Now we can take the camera, we can move it with the G key here like this, whatever we need. The resolution is normal HD right here in this tab, the output tab. That's okay. Now, lights. We don't have lights, but you guys just need to know for jewelry, we're just going to go to the world tab. And in here, we're going to put an environment texture. Now, I'm going to activate the rendering preview here in the viewport, which is very nice. It's all magenta because there's no environment image. Let's open an image. So for environments, you need to know that basically the HDR format is the most used one, even if the new OpenAXR format is better. Both work very fine. Where to find them? You go to the web. The free famous one is HDRI Heaven. You can donate to them also. Do it. It's cool. Here we have maps. So you just go there. You like this one. You hit there, and you just download and see it's the OpenAXR format. It's like the newest file format. It has more precision. It's a bit more powerful than HDR. But anyway, so I obviously have a couple of these are free. Obviously, but actually, what we do, I'm going to use one of my files. This is from my rooftop. So this you need to know. To illuminate a scene, you need, well, the most used format is just one environment HDR. Well, we are going to try to use only that file where that's why I removed the light. We're not going to use light sources that would be artificial light sources that you could create here, add light. There's several types of light, but we can basically learn that using only HDR is way enough. And we can avoid artificial lights. It's easier and faster because the HDR brings the lights and makes the shadow also. And depending on the type of file, you're going to have soft shadow or hard shadows. There are several types of HDR light orientations. It all depends from it all comes from the file, from the light source in that HDR. So, okay, now everything is great because we don't have materials. So let's learn a bit about materials. I'm going to select the plane. I can call that guy floor as the floor. Let's go to materials. Let's create a new material. That guy also, I can call it floor. One thing is the mesh and the other thing is the material. Okay, now this guy, we're gonna make it white. The basic color is not full white. We are going to use full white. Then metallic, let's put this guy at 1. So it's going to make some reflection. We can't see them because the roughness is high, and roughness make things very smooth, even reflection. So let's bring it down to 0.1, and we can see the reflection is way sharper, but that's too sharp. Let's bring it to 0.3. We want a slight reflection because that's cool. Okay, now let's select the ring. Let's put a new material. Let's call it gold. So now it's just the name. That doesn't make nothing at all. So finding the right color for yellow gold is like looking for gold. It's really hard to find. All right. So, and also the material has no reflection. So the color of your gold is very relative to the entire scene. You need to understand that there's no correct color for gold. You might want to go on the internet, and we have such information. You can find the RGB or HSV color reference for yellow gold. Don't do that. It won't work. It's wrong. The word doesn't work like that. Your screen, your software, your eyes, your everything don't see color the same as the next guy. Then the HDR file, the size of the design, the type of floor, the type of textures you're going to use, they're going to change entirely the color you're perceiving. So just go with what you see, go with what you feel. You are going to be wrong. Then we're going to have technical issues and relative subjective issues. People are going to like it, people are not going to like it. Don't say you're a fucking noob. Sorry for the bad word there. I'm not supposed to use them on this channel. Oh, my bad. YouTube is going to block me. Please don't block me. It's just, but you understood the point because that's way real. Try to do the best you can. And obviously, there are technical issues that are more objective. You need to take care of that the best way you can and learn all you can about that. But then it's just up to you. Okay, so let's put it metallic at 1. Let's put roughness at 0.5. We got this. That's pretty good. Maybe 0.12, 0.15. This is cool. The color is a bit warm, but also I don't know. Maybe on your when you're watching this tutorial, let's say no, that's good. But let's say some people to show the way it goes are going to say no, this is too yellow. This is perfect for me. This is too green. This is not real. This might be green gold. There's a bit of mixing that gets this kind of color, but that's a bit too saturated already. Some people are going to say, this is correct. This might be correct for red gold or rose gold, but that's exaggerated. So, or some people are going to say it must be very, very light. The rest of the color comes from the HDR file because it's a sunset or part of a sunset. You can see the reflection there. Okay, so, but I'm going to make it a bit more yellowish here. Okay, I like it there. We're pretty good. Okay, let's go back to a normal view. I'm going to activate overlays. I'm going to duplicate my ring, Shift D, Enter, rotate with the R key. Let's put a nice 90 degrees here. Let's bring it to the floor. Let's go under to see what's going on there. Okay, here we're good. Let's move this guy so it touches the other ring. So let's say that it's standing up, which is not very realistic, but it's cool, you know. That's a classic. So we have this. Okay, the camera, I can change the focal length here. Let's go closer a bit. Let's say, let's go here. All right, let's go back to rendering preview. Let's remove the overlays. Well, that's pretty cool to start, right? As a tutorial, this is the basic. A reflective floor, a gold material. This we're going to use in forever now. White gold, silver, platinum. It's all very similar. And with cycles, it's very easy to do. Eevee is faster, like I said, but the problem with Eevee, we won't get the reflections and refractions above all for gemstones. I made a tutorial in Spanish to make a diamond in Eevee that worked very well, but it's a trick. So, and well, LuxScore is way better for all the jewelry stuff. Some of my work is actually in the official LuxScore gallery. If you want to have a look at it, it's very easy to spot my work. Actually, thanks to the LuxScore guys. I will also be obviously making my economical participation in LuxScore because it changed my professional life, and these guys are making a wonderful job. I already help. Well, it's almost nothing, but I do make my economic share to Blender. Obviously, my work has been selected already a couple of times in Blender Nation, thanks to Bart. One almost made it up in the forum gallery. I don't know why it never appeared there. It was selected in, but anyway, I'll keep working. So maybe one day it doesn't matter that much anymore because luckily my work is well. Actually, my work is world known. Obviously, in English, many people told me to. Well, it's important for me to make the series in English because um, it's very jewelry and 3D jewelry making oriented, and many people want to learn the way I work. I've been working with this for decades now and teaching to thousands of people. It's been a very nice experience to me because my work is very well known all around the world, and well, people want to know more about what I do, and obviously, well, English is necessary for making the channel to make to achieve a wider audience and make the channel better known. So I'm going to keep pushing forward and working in that direction. So thanks, guys, for subscribing and liking the video. Okay, but before we go, just a couple of things. Um, the quality of the rendering, this is just a preview, is going to depend from the render samples, and also what you need to check for your graphics card. The tile can be way bigger. This one is very accurate for my card, for my setup. You want to change the performance tile size there. This affects a lot the speed. Now, the sampling amount. 128 is very low. Regular would be like 800. Very high quality renders are going to go to 2000 or something like that. Nowadays, the denoisers have made a lot of progress. The Intel and optics denoisers are very efficient and they are in Blender. So I'm going to show you how to use them. We need to go to compositing, use the nodes. This is what the renderer does. Oops. This is what the renderer does, and this is so that's the render image goes to the output. That's what's going to happen. But we're going to go to the pass the scene to the scene tab, and we're going to ask for the denoising data here. So a lot of options show up there, and it might be scary, but it's very simple. Just go to add. If you don't know where it is, I know where it is, but put You search for the denoiser, you just plug it in right there in the middle. You just need to bring the denoising normal and the denoising albedo right there, and that's good. You're good with that. So now what's going to happen? First, I'm going to make the render without the denoiser and with the 128 default passes. So to render, you can go there, render image. You can see it's the famous F12 function key. So let's hit the key, and we're going to see live the render going on. So the samples just is the amount of calculation for all the bounces of the light giving this render engine that is cycle. What we can see with these with this amount of sample that it's it pixelates quite much. I don't mind about that so much because I think gives it a kind of look that it's nice. But some people say, no, why these pixels look bad? It should be smoother, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, the pixelation is going to be even more obvious on reflective materials because the glossiness on all that takes more calculation. And this is our specific field in jewelry. And actually, ask any photographer, making a nice image of a jewel is one of the hardest thing in the world. Check any photographer, professional photographer channel. Look for those talking about jewelry. It's not my opinion. It's technically stated because lights, bounces, reflections, getting nice contrasted white and blacks because that's what you want. If you don't have very dark areas and very light areas, your jewels, your photography is like, your render is going to look very flat, very boring, but basically bad. It's going to be useless and it won't look professional. In 3D rendering, it's also very hard to make good looking jewelry renders. But as I said earlier, I love simplifying things. That's why people ask me to teach because I'm able to simplify it the way it is and the way it works. Just find a good HDR file. Almost everything in jewelry rendering comes from the HDR file. This file is mine. So that's the entire problem. If you go, like I said, to, let's say, HDRI Heaven and take your images from there, you're going to end up with images with environment maps that the entire world knows and uses. So also that's up to you, and that's where the new work is. As well, I love rendering. Way before making jewelry design or knowing anything about jewelry, it just ended up that way that I became a jeweler and then I became more and more known, or maybe for some famous in this field, jewelry, 3D jewelry modeling and rendering and all that. I still have a lot of things to do in this field because really I'm just getting started even after all these years. And also because technology is moving and softwares like Blender has become something amazing over a couple of years. Now we can do things at home in a time frame of minutes, and that's crazy. And then we can even print it and then cast it in silver and gold and many things like that and sell it. We can sell the jewel. I can sell the 3D model. I can sell the render. I can make an animation. I can teach. I can teach online. I've been teaching online for more than 12 years. So simple, the HDR file. So if you use HDR files that everybody's using, which is what happens in our field, because our field, to be honest, is not very creative about this. Uh, I've been pushing a lot, so people are start. Well, I've been doing it also, but I've I've been one of the designers, jewelry designers that has been pushing that a lot because many people just put a white background there and that's, oh, that's lovely. Wow, that's cool. And they all use the same HDR file with the same black and white reflection from the photo box you can buy on the internet. That's just dull, guys. It's just pathetically and funnily. So I'm not making fun of you, people, but it's just I'm here to say, like many times, that's not enough. It's not enough because the technology was invented to make a lot more than that. So be be up to the challenge. And many jewelers, because they say, I don't have to. Yeah, I know, because they're selling very, very common, straight from the catalog jewels. That's what they do. That's what they make. That's what the entire their business is, selling and making very boring jewels. So they're making and designing very boring renders. Okay, that's your okay. You're making a lot of money with that. Good for you. Well, I like making money and also a lot of money, but not that way. It's boring. It's just way boring. It's like in football. Who you want to be? Maybe at least Ronaldinho, but just at least Messi also. But well, Messi is um, also a very nice player, but the style also, the way you play, the way you work, the way you will be remembered. You want to be remembered for making boring stuff, like actually this. But we need to start with something, right? To be learning. That's why I'm going to take you all through the steps in this new English series, which, well, it's going to be cool. I hope. And but to end up making wonderful things, not boring. And let's say, well, I can't say bad words, so I won't say bad words. I want to say them because that's what they deserve. But technology, guys, it's here to make new stuff. New. This is not new. This is my uh well, a child could do this. And actually they do, because some of my followers, they are very young and they want to learn about jewelry. So I hope they'll be making, and that's why I started teaching. Was like, guys, we can do a lot more than this, and really make people get interested in jewelry in many ways, because there's many ways of making jewelries, many materials, many techniques, all the new many technologies, and 3D is one of the technologies. So this is a bit pixelated. So now let's go back here and let's plug in the denoiser. Let's hit F12 again and let's see the difference. So at the beginning is going to be exactly the same. The denoiser comes at the end, and okay, let's see. It is smoother. We can see that on screen. This is amazing. So it means that the sampling number needed nowadays to achieve, well, good looking renders can be very low, because yeah, there we can, that's why they're inventing, because the new denoiser are based on artificial intelligence, because the software is going to check what you're doing, um, and is able to know where to denoise and where not, because, well, artificial intelligence. Obviously, that's a bit scary. It must be. This is because the application of artificial intelligence. Well, we all know Skynet. Well, it's science fiction, but technology goes very fast, and Big Brother is watching. So take care. We must be aware of that. Very famous people are, let's say, Elon Musk. I think he expressed a few interesting views on the subject, and he's well placed to know that, because Tesla, uh, auto driving, well, people got killed by these intelligent technologies, they're really dangerous technologies. So technology is not just all good. There's some things about technologies that are very bad. And also, when we're makers, when we're jewelry makers, it's not just all 3D and 3D printing. You should really learn about jewelry making by hand because that's the real world. In any way, after printing, a jeweler needs to finish the jewels. So you need to know about polishing, soldering, well, many processes, many, because actually it's very hard. It's a very demanding craftsmanship, and it's a very old craftsmanship. So making pretty images is part of it. Many people think that it's all I do. Well, this is funny because it's actually the opposite. I just don't have time to make and not much motivation of making workshop videos. Let's make a platinum ring, uh, or let's make a 200 stone pave micro pave ring. Well, I could, but my history made that 3D and 3D design and all that moved way faster for me and for my channel or for my business and my students and all that. But basically, with my students, what we do every day, well, not every day now, but almost every day, is jewelry making, melting metal, soldering, polishing, stone setting, and all that, and also the drawing by hand. I still have so many drawing with videos to make because I'm coming short of what I can do. Really, I still have so much to show and to share. So that's why we'll be doing all that in English also. And okay, well, that's basically it. This is the final render. So we can save the image here. Image, save. Just save the file here. We don't need the alpha setting, and we can remove the compression, save the image that's saved. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. This tutorial was and is for beginners. I'll be saying and making it very clear for every level of the tutorials for what level it is, because obviously for at the beginning I need to explain a lot of things. I need to speak a lot about things surrounding the designs. This was a very simple model using Bezier curve. So as a homework, go and check out who Bezier was, because you need to learn. This is a common culture applied to our field. So there are very specific things we need to check and learn. And the more you know, the best. I'm always going to be to call out on these specific aspects and about what's going on in our field. Like when I said this is a very boring model and a very simple render, our expectation must be very, very much beyond that. And that's why I decided to create the channels years ago. I started in Spanish because it's my main market, because I live in Mexico City. But with the years, it's true that my clients are from all around the world, and I do have quite a few clients from the US. And well, they recommend me from the US. So obviously, people need to know that I do speak English quite well. Obviously, I'm well. The nice part also for me, I do speak English and write English. And I lived in Canada. I've traveled a lot through the US. I have many friends in the US. So my English is well beyond just normal, and I really enjoy speaking English. And obviously, it's going to be less rusty the more we go further through the tutorials. So I really enjoy making these tutorials. And like I said, I do them because I have a very specific position in my field. My work has been recognized already many times uh, in many areas and even beyond my field. I really love 3D. The technology has become something amazing, and my position allows me to share that, and also because Blender, simply because Blender. Uh, I discovered Blender for the first time in 2008. Uh, I really started teaching and using Blender at the professional level 3 years ago. Yeah, something like that, or a bit more maybe by now. Um, and Blender, it's it's just fantastic that we can share that much. We can learn that much because Blender, I think, really helps learning, and it's really nice to learn using Blender. And it's also nice to teach using Blender because it feels good, and that's huge. That's very good. So that's why, and I'm also doing that. Uh, well, I'm quite young, and I hope I'm just halfway through my life. I still have many things to live, but it's a kind of legacy I can already do. It could have been done way earlier. Honestly, I could done that uh, in 2004. I could have started that, but to show that using very well, Blender is not any software because of history of Blender, but we're going to use very basic functions to create amazing jewels and amazing renders. We just need to learn how, and that's why I'm making the tutorial. So, okay, I hope you liked it. Thumbs up. If you didn't, well, thumbs down. But then don't be here if you don't like it. No, maybe be here. It's nice also to have people that don't like what I do. It's amazing. Do anyway, subscribe, turn on the notification and all. The main rhythm is going to be at least one video per week. This is the second one. So we're starting. This is very basic. I know I've talked a lot, but that's also what generally people love about my channel because I speak about many things that surround the question because we need to learn about all that to get better at this jewelry 3D designing stuff and modeling and rendering and all that. And we need to talk about a lot of things and about what's going on and also what my history is. Actually, I am going to make um, a biography series. Yeah, it's a bit narcissist, let's say that, but no, it's not about that. Many of my friends, I I've been invited to quite a few or several interviews on TV or for um, press and all that. Um, it's true, I do enjoy it, but it's also because my point of view on jewelry is very specific. I don't come from a jewelry family. My family knows nothing about jewelry, just didn't even buy that much jewelry, just don't enjoy it. They're intellectual people. My mother is an anthropologist. My father is a social helper. Well, they're retired now. My brother is a psychiatrist. Well, my brother did um, uh, um, committed me quite very nice jewels, but because then he discovered through me that jewelry is an art form in itself. Many of my friends from high school were just lost them because they thought I was making something very superficial, I guess, and I was so different from these people that well, I just grew in another direction. And well, my life basically, I've been a painter. First, I when I was 20 years old, I lived from painting. So I've been a successful artist, um, living from my art since quite a young age. Um, and I'm living now, well, in from jewelry. I've been living from jewelry making for 20 years as an independent now. So I think that's already a success. There are so many things I need to still to make, and many more success to achieve. That's the nice thing to be an independent in something in a creative field. I have worked with the industry. I work with all all direction of this field, and that's why I enjoy making the channel. And my personal story is much involved in what I do and in what I will create or not. And well, that's why I'm going to make another series beyond these tutorials. So, well, obviously, I speak a lot, but it's because in the end, it has something to share that shows also because the biography of artists are generally very relevant to people who want to dedicate themselves to their own art form, to be independent in the art field, and just simply by knowing that it is possible, uh, even today, and I've been doing that for decades. I will keep fighting and working because sometimes it is a fight. Well, obviously, we hope that it's not much of a fight then, because when your work start to be recognized, promoted, shown, shared, and all that, you want that to be more a friendly process, you know. So, but sometimes we need to fight because we need to fight against ignorance, against bad taste, against bad practice, against a couple of things. So we need to have the valor to stand for other concepts. And actually, that's in a way, well, in a way, in many ways, what Blender did, what Blender does. Even if, like all, we are working with the industry and all that, it's not just all black and white, but because we all depend from each other. Uh, but we need to stand for our ideas and make that possible and show the world that it's worth it and that you should always go for it. Even if we are going to fail, I failed many times. I will fail and keep failing many times. But then you'll know that doesn't really matter. What matters is you keep going. All right. So I hope you like it, subscribe, be nice, comment, ask questions, and just leave a comment and tell me because yeah, that's nice. People from Australia, people from Ukraine, people from Poland, people from Peru, from anywhere in the world are commenting just to say hi. Thanks for your videos, and that's really nice to know. That's a like and thumbs up for them. Yeah. Okay, and see you next week. Bye.